In 1959, 9 hikers vanished on this frozen mountain.
Their story remains one of history's most haunting, unsolved mysteries. The mountain keeps its secrets buried beneath endless snow and silence. Every step follows the path they took toward their final night. The wilderness stretches endlessly, indifferent to human tragedy and loss.
He approaches the place where their tent once stood against winter. Here 9 souls made camp, unaware of the horror approaching them. Something in the darkness drove them from safety into frozen death.
The forest stands frozen, a graveyard of twisted wood and memory.
Abandoned buildings hold fragments of the investigation that followed their deaths.
Time and isolation have consumed this place, leaving only silence behind. Inside these walls, searchers once coordinated desperate rescue missions that failed.
Evidence was gathered here, analyzed, debated, but never truly understood completely.
Communication equipment fell silent, unable to explain what happened that night.
Through frozen glass, the mountain reveals nothing but endless winter darkness.
Young faces smile from photographs, full of hope before the mountain claimed.
Empty beds remain where rescue teams rested between fruitless search expeditions. Deeper into darkness, where forgotten records sleep beneath layers of frost.
Files contain witness statements, autopsy reports, and questions with no answers.
Official records raise more questions than answers about their final moments.
He leaves the building behind, returning to the frozen wilderness outside. The mountain's vastness swallows everything, even memories of the lost. Ancient cedars witnessed their desperate flight through darkness and bitter cold. This tree became their final refuge when hypothermia stole rational thought. Beneath this cedar, 2 bodies were discovered frozen in peaceful sleep. Fog descends like memory, obscuring truth and leaving only unanswered questions. Strange patterns in snow suggest struggle, confusion, or something unexplainable beyond. Every detail matters when searching for truth in a mystery decades old.
Beauty and death coexist here, frozen together in the mountain's embrace.
He follows their path downstream, retracing final steps through impossible cold. The ravine beckons, where 3 more bodies were found months later. Descending into darkness, where winter cold becomes a living, crushing presence. Stone walls close in, creating a natural tomb of ice and shadow. The ravine amplifies every sound, every breath, every heartbeat in isolation. Nature's patterns reveal the brutal force that dominates this frozen landscape.
Above, stars shine indifferently on the tragedy that unfolded far below.
The valley opens, offering brief respite from the ravine's oppressive darkness. Every step upward requires effort, mirroring the hiker's final, exhausting struggle. Looking back, the distance seems impossible to have traveled in darkness.
Wind howls constantly, a force capable of stripping warmth and sanity. Alone under endless stars, he walks where 9 young lives ended. Rocks emerge like monuments, marking the mountain's indifference to human suffering. Ice creates beauty even here, where cold became an executioner decades.
This brutal terrain tested even experienced climbers under the best conditions. Rest comes briefly, but the mountain's cold permits no true comfort.
The wilderness extends forever, beautiful and utterly merciless to the unprepared.
The journey continues downward, deeper into the mystery's frozen heart today.
Fog blinds and disorients, turning simple navigation into dangerous guesswork quickly.
Endless white stretches in all directions, erasing landmarks and hope equally.
Distance deceives in winter darkness, making nearby trees seem impossibly far. Trees bend and break under relentless wind, nature's power displayed starkly.
Lightning strikes even here, adding fire's violence to winter's brutal cold.
Every detail tells a story for those patient enough to observe. Life endures here despite the cold, adapted to conditions that killed.
Animal tracks remind that survival requires adaptation, and winter demands from everything.
Tracks vanish into darkness, leaving questions about what creatures survive here.
Higher ground offers perspective, but also greater exposure to winter's fury. Determination battles exhaustion as the mountain tests every visitor's will relentlessly.
Stone markers connect present travelers with those who passed before tragedy. Touching stones touched by the lost creates connection across decades gone.
Silence descends completely when wind stops, creating unnatural quiet that disturbs deeply. In perfect silence, every footstep echoes like whispers from the past.
Others have sheltered here before, seeking warmth that fires briefly provided.
Each stone was placed by hands now gone, seeking survival's warmth.
Geography creates rare pockets of shelter, where survival becomes briefly more possible.
Leaving shelter behind, he climbs toward where the tragedy's center awaits.
Steep terrain demands constant attention, where one misstep means death below.
Altitude steals breath and warmth, adding another layer of mountain danger.
Looking down reveals the enormous distance climbed through darkness and bitter wind.
Ice transforms rock into lethal surfaces that betray every step taken. Each step requires complete focus, where falling means no rescue arrives.
Wind strips everything here, leaving only naked rock beneath endless frozen sky.
The summit remains hidden, shrouded in clouds that never fully reveal secrets. A cave offers shelter, its dark mouth promising refuge from relentless cold.
Darkness beckons with warmth's promise, tempting exhausted travelers toward uncertain shelter.
Inside, temperature rises slightly, enough difference to feel like warm sanctuary.
The cave opens wider, revealing chambers carved by time and water.
Protected from wind, breath becomes invisible as warmth returns to frozen lungs.
Others sought refuge here across decades, leaving traces of survival attempts.
Every fire lit here represents a life saved from the mountain's grasp.
Deeper passages beckon, but darkness beyond lantern light warns against further exploration. Caution guides the wise, knowing when darkness hides more danger ahead.
Leaving shelter feels like physical assault, as mountain cold strikes instantly again.
The journey continues upward toward the place where 9 lives ended.
The ridge narrows dangerously, with death waiting on either side below.
The destination appears ahead, where mystery and death converged that night.
Final steps demand everything remaining, as altitude and cold steal all strength. Exhaustion battles determination, as the summit's final meters demand impossible effort.
They climbed this same route, unaware it would become their path. With renewed purpose, he climbs the final distance toward the tragedy's epicenter.
This is Dyatlov Pass, where 9 experienced hikers made their final camp. Wind dominates this exposed slope, powerful enough to drive rational minds mad.
Time has buried all evidence beneath decades of accumulated snow layers.
Here they pitched their tent. Unaware horror approached through the darkness. 9 souls perished here, their final moments remaining forever unexplained mystery. They fled downward into darkness, abandoning shelter for reasons still unknown.
This slope funnels wind and cold, creating conditions that kill swiftly.
What approached from above remains the mystery's unsolved and terrifying heart.
The mountain keeps its secrets, offering no answers to decades' questions.
Surrounded by darkness, the truth feels simultaneously close and impossibly distant.
Leaving the past behind, the mystery remains as impenetrable as ever.
Below, searchers found bodies scattered across the slope and forest months. Descending feels like retreat, leaving questions unanswered in the frozen heights. Trees here grow twisted and stunted, shaped by relentless wind pressure. Descending brings warmer air gradually, though cold still dominates this frozen realm. He returns to the cedar, where 2 bodies were found frozen.
The ancient cedar witnessed their final, desperate struggle for survival and warmth. Circling the tree feels like ritual, honoring those who died here.
They climbed these branches, hypothermia stealing their reason and remaining strength.
Touching the tree connects present to past, living to lost souls.
3 more sought shelter in the ravine, finding only frozen death. Returning to the ravine feels heavier, knowing what fate awaited there.
Here 3 were found months later, injuries suggesting unexplainable violent force. Their injuries raised more questions, deepening the mystery beyond simple hypothermia.
Climbing from the ravine feels like emerging from a frozen tomb below.
Above ground again, the forest feels almost welcoming after the ravine's depths.
Following water downstream leads gradually away from the tragedy's frozen epicenter. Beauty persists even here, where death touched so many young lives forever.
Distance from the site brings no relief, the mystery traveling with him. Ice cracks and shifts, nature's sounds filling the silence of remembrance. Open meadows offer respite from the forest's oppressive darkness, and shadows briefly.
His footprints mark the snow, temporary evidence that will disappear with weather.
Signs of human activity appear, civilization's boundary approaching through the wilderness slowly.
Logged stumps mark where wilderness ends, and human control gradually begins again.
An old road appears, human engineering imposing order on wild nature.
Level ground brings easier travel after hours of mountain climbing and descent.
Abandoned machinery rusts slowly, Soviet industry's remnants left to nature's reclamation process.
Time consumes everything here, metal and memory alike returning to Earth slowly. Animals shelter where humans once worked, life adapting to abandoned spaces perfectly. Descending altitude brings gradually warmer air, though winter still dominates everything here.
More light penetrates where trees thin, offering better visibility through darkness. Choices multiply as civilization approaches, paths diverging toward different human destinations nearby.
Faint tracks suggest others pass here occasionally, connecting wilderness to civilization's edge.
The investigation yields no new answers, the mystery remaining as impenetrable.
Even signs fade here, information erased by time and harsh weather.
The road improves steadily, human maintenance becoming evident as civilization nears gradually.
A hunting cabin stands empty, waiting for seasons when hunters return.
Weathered wood shows decades of survival against the mountain's brutal conditions yearly.
Old wood protests under weight, decades of weathering weakening its strength.
Mountain tradition leaves cabins unlocked, offering shelter to any traveler in need.
Simple supplies wait here, potentially saving lives when winter traps the unprepared.
Exhaustion finally surfaces when safety permits, the journey's weight becoming fully felt.
In silence, memories of the tragic sight replay, offering no revelation. Leaving the cabin as found maintains tradition for the next traveler. The journey continues towards civilization, the wilderness slowly relieving its hold gradually.
Each step forward brings improvement, wilderness yielding to human-maintained pathways slowly. Power lines appear overhead, modern civilization's reach extending into wild, remote places. Following power lines leads inevitably toward human settlements and modern infrastructure ahead.
Fresh paint signals proximity to areas where people regularly venture and maintain. Managed forest reveals human control, nature organized rather than allowed wildness freely. A maintained road appears, regularly plowed and traveled by modern vehicles recently.
Standing at wilderness's edge, the transition from isolation to civilization feels sudden.
The mountains remain distant shadows, holding their secrets tight against discovery forever.
Walking becomes easier on maintained roads, the journey's end approaching steadily now.
A gate marks the boundary, wilderness officially ending and controlled land beginning.
The road curves downward naturally, following terrain toward valleys and human habitation.
Distant lights appear, the first signs of warmth and human presence. Walking toward light feels symbolic, returning from darkness to human warmth.
A small village appears, smoke rising from chimneys promising warmth and shelter.
Empty streets at this late hour, residents sheltered inside from winter's cold.
Another memorial stands here, connecting the remote tragedy to this community's memory.
Names inscribed in stone remember those who never returned from the mountain.
Community memory preserves what time tries to erase from collective consciousness slowly.
Warm homes offer stark contrast to the frozen death zone above.
A museum preserves the story, artifacts and evidence displayed for future generations.
Through dark windows, exhibits preserve memory when living witnesses eventually fade away. The village ends quickly, a small outpost between wilderness and larger civilization. Between settlement and darkness, the journey continues toward larger population centers ahead. Agricultural fields lie dormant, waiting for spring to return life and warmth.
Open fields offer no shelter, exposure different but equally dangerous here.
A wooden bridge crosses frozen water, his footsteps echoing in night silence. Even frozen streams create beauty, nature's artistry persisting through brutal winter.
Managed forest feels fundamentally different from wilderness, control replacing chaos and danger.
Trees stand in organized rows, human intention shaping every aspect of growth.
Pavement appears, modern infrastructure marking complete return to controlled civilization, finally.
Standing on pavement feels alien after hours walking through snow and ice. Vehicle tracks show regular traffic, modern transportation, connecting even remote regions reliably. Infrastructure multiplies, electricity and communication, connecting this region to wider world beyond. Public transportation reaches even here, connecting isolated communities to regional centers regularly. Power lines guide the way toward larger towns where investigations were coordinated. Exhaustion battles determination, the journey's completion requiring final effort and persistence now.
Roads multiply at intersections, choices expanding as population centers draw nearer ahead.
Ivdel awaits, the town where desperate rescue missions launched and evidence gathered.
Signs multiply, modern infrastructure providing guidance and safety to all travelers passing.
Town lights create a glow, promising warmth and answers to decades' questions. Industrial buildings appear first, practical foundations supporting life in harsh, remote regions.
Streetlights illuminate the town, modern life continuing
despite winter's bitter cold.
Soviet architecture dominates, functional blocks of housing communities in this isolated northern region.
The town center stands quiet, administrative heart resting until morning returns.
Multiple tragedies remembered here, the mountain claiming many lives across long decades.
From remote site to town memorial, the mystery connects physical and symbolic.
Finally seated, exhaustion overwhelms as the journey's end arrives at last, completely. Normal life continues around him, the tragedy distant memory for most residents. The archive building beckons, holding official documents and evidence from decades past.
Inside these walls lie files, photographs, testimonies, and unanswered persistent questions.
The archives offer fragments but never completion, gaps preserving mystery eternally. Turning away feels like acceptance, some truths remaining forever beyond human reach. Standing in the square's center, mountains remain present, though invisible beyond darkness. The journey concludes, wilderness crossed, mystery encountered but never truly solved completely. He disappears into darkness, the mystery enduring, truth remaining forever elusive here.